it is premised, and you go through all the bills on overpopulation. Now, overpopulation, and we could go online for this to get into to really fathom the issues, is a myth. Is a myth. For how, siguro there is an overconcentration of people in a given area. Pero to say that the Philippines is overpopulated, ni NEDA nga, hindi niya sinasabi yun eh. There is no categorical statement from government that we're overpopulated. And look, I oppose the reproductive health bill in ordinance in Olongapo City because imagine the city planning officer with the mayor were saying that Olongapo City is overpopulated. They even put so many tarpaulins all over the city. Olongapo City has 200,000 people. Olongapo City SBME is as big as Singapore. Singapore has 7 million people. And they're not saying they are overpopulated. In fact, they are begging their people, their married couples, to make more babies. Kasi kulang na nga sila, and they have a very lax migration policy because they want more people now. And so yun yung, I could go on and on, pero I'll let you say his argument.
Well, the question, I'll go back to the question about possible conflict between our stand and Kapatiran and making policy decisions, and what the church would say on the same issues. And an example was raised on, for example, on divorce. Now, divorce, the civil code in this country has been revised to now include practically a relative divorce, right? And they have expanded on the grounds for either party going to court to even invalidate a marriage and declare it void from the very beginning. And as far as separation is concerned, they have expanded the grounds for it and to even now include incompatibility. Now, divorce is a very complex issue. It is replete with so many collateral issues. And even the church itself allows divorce, but you have to go to a church tribunal to establish your case. So, as far as that example goes, my mind is open to it in some cases, but it has to be very strictly monitored because the trend of countries that have allowed divorce is that they have become very loose about the divorce. They become very liberal, so that divorce has now become a case of, if you get tired of your shirt, go and change your shirt, you know, thereby wreaking havoc on the families. And we in Kapatiran are very strong on preserving the harmony and the family values, so that if divorce will in any way jeopardize the sanctity of marriage, the sanctity of families, then we will oppose it to the very marrow of our bones. But to the extent that the union between a husband and wife has reached a point where it is really beyond repair, then I would say that the same grounds that our church, the same procedure that it follows in processing divorce among two Catholic couples, or a Catholic man and a Catholic woman, going before a church tribunal, I would like to see that the strictness of that procedure should always be applied, should also be applied. Now, in the case of RH, there are many reasons why we oppose RH. But the number one reason that I think is really, to me, is a grand deception, is that the proponents of RH are equating population issues with poverty. And that, to me, is a grand deception, because there has never been a linkage between poverty and so-called overpopulation. In fact, there's plenty of evidence to show that what correlates to poverty is actually the corruption in this country. It has nothing to do with having more Filipino babies. And the second thing I'd like to say on that point is that we are now saying that we have too many Filipinos, and yet it is the same number of Filipinos that have saved the country a number of times from economic and financial crisis because of our overseas workers' remittances. And since when as a country ever has the right to say that too many people has become a liability, whereas the opposite should be true, that the people of any given country should be its number one asset. So why are we now saying that we have too many Filipinos and therefore we should now go into abortive fashions, contraceptive pills, and even leading to a abortion?
Can you reject it in its entirety, or what about sex education? Shouldn't the children be informed about the process?
Sex education. I have seen the modules of the decks that they have to promote sex education, and I already said this before. I find it offensive. I find it pornographic, and I wouldn't want my children to be subject to that. And I believe that sex education is the domain of parents. Maybe anatomy and physiology, maybe biology, but sex education should be left for the parents to do for their children.
I'll connect that. I had a blog entry on that. Sex education should be left to the parents, and a lot of parents objected to it because they don't know what sex education, because the schools also didn't teach them. They don't even know their bodies. And when I mentioned that I had sex education from my parents, they were surprised because not many parents do that. So I don't know. So in this case, if you're against the RH Bilasa law, what if Congress approves it? What will happen? What will be your stand in it? Still the same?
I will respect. It's a majority decision.
Mm-hmm.
And I respect institutions, and I will respect it. However, as president is elected,
Right.
it is my right to say what I feel, and I will state my mind, and I will tell the people why I feel that. But as to the implementation of the law, I will respect it.
Can I say something to that?
Yes.
Are you asking the question of if
Yes.
the Congress should pass the RH?
Yes, RH.
Okay.
What will you do as president or vice?
Well, not as president,
Yes,
but
but-
as the Kapatiran party
Mm-hmm.
will question the constitutionality of that law in the Supreme Court. Because the battle is not won on law simply because it has been made a law. We will, if the RH, the way it is worded today, and that's my premise, you know, if the way it's worded today is the way it's going to be legislated and passed as a law, then we are going to bring it to court.
No, but aren't you considering changing it before bringing it to the Supreme Court? I mean, isn't that the shortest
That's
way?
exactly what we are doing in conjunction with the pro-life movement.
Right.
We are trying to have congressmen take a second look at the proposed legislation and listen to us. We have made some headways, like, for instance, they have changed some of the wordings of the law, but still a lot of the objections